Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Friday Night Young at Heart, featuring nursery rhymes, stories, songs, poems, Mother Goose, Aesop's, fables, Lewis, Carol, limericks, larks, epics, stories of the great operas, and such. To keep us all young at heart, I'm Father James DiLuzio. Tonight we are covering chapters 18 and 19 of the original novella by Carlo Collodi entitled The Adventures of Pinocchio. And I would like to begin with this little note. Nothing captures the value and the importance of reading the original for yourself. So even though I summarize these things, you don't get all the wit and the nuance and details of the original novel. Do yourselves a favor and get a copy and read it for yourself. Hopefully these little summaries may be of interest to you. I feel like I'm one of those Spark Notes or whatever those other study guides are. They have those little blurbs. But truly, I'm not able to read it to you, and the reading of it is just so much more fun. Well, as you recall, I hope you recall, Pinocchio was telling lies to the Blue Fairy about what he did or what he didn't do with the money that he had, although he was quite accurate and truthful about the assassins, etc. But we left him with the longest nose, that he was top-heavy. Top-heavy. His nose brings him to the ground, and then so big he can't even get out of a door. So it must be pretty big, too, like a tree trunk. So many lies. So chapter 18 begins with the good fairies trying to convey to him the meaning of this trunk of a nose is to convey the evil of lies and how one compounds the other, and how to be truly good, one must be truly honest in the best way one can possibly be honest, and that to be a true boy, a true person, lies will never do. So she tries to make him see the seriousness of this, and for a while she allows him to believe that this can go on forever, that he'll never get his natural nose, well, his original puppet nose, back. He cries, he weeps, and ultimately the Blue Fairy, the good fairy, has compassion for him, and she returns him back to his original visage, yes. Now, she says that he could live with her and be her little brother, and they could live happily ever after. And he says, well, what about my father? And she says, well, I've thought of that. He's on his way here right now. Joy! Rapture, cries Pinocchio. Let me run out to meet him. And the good fairy says, yes, you certainly may. And so he runs out, and as he's running along the road, who should he find but the fox and the cat, who are so delighted to see him, no doubt. And he notices something curious, that the cat has lost her paw, or his paw, and is limping. He doesn't make a connection to what has happened previously, but we'll put that aside. They once again ask him how he's been, and he tells them the story of the assassins. They're appalled and sympathetic, but they do inquire, what's happened to your 4 gold coins? And he says, well, I still have them, and I'm going to meet my father. Ah, but wouldn't you like to delight your father with 1,000 more gold coins? Remember, we're not that far from the magic ground there. You can plant them in. Still, there's time. Well, thought Pinocchio. Oh no, cries the reader. Nevertheless, they convince him, and off they go. But this time they go through a city. It's a terrible city. All the animals are mangy and poor and decrepit, and there's those who aren't mangy are somehow been brutalized, or they've lost their feathers. It's a terrible, terrible place. And I'm hoping, well, is he going to use the coins to bring a little better life to these people? But these seem to be all people, all creatures who have lost their good fortune by doing very foolish things. Because this land of miracles, this this not plant of miracles, what do they call it? The field. This field of miracles may have gotten to them as well. But Pinocchio's, he's not inquiring. He's inquisitive about some things, but not the really important things. And so he goes and plants, and the fox and the cat assure him that just a few hours he needs to go away, though, or the magic won't happen, but in a few hours he can come back. And then, of course, he comes back, and he's so anxious. Oh, he had to water the ground, too, after he planted the coins and covered them with dirt. So he thinks, well, he'll do something extra for himself. So he comes back in a few hours, and he waters it some more. And a parrot is up in a tree laughing. And he asks the parrot, why are you laughing? And at first the parrot tells him he thinks of this joke. But then he continues to laugh, and then Pinocchio is insistent, and he says, well, there's always these fools who make these crazy decisions. And what? And Pinocchio is beginning to do a little self-assessment here. And he's the fool, of course. The parrot lets him know that the fox and the cat have come, and they've taken the gold coins away. So he digs and digs. Perhaps the parrot is mistaken. Alas, not. And so, after digging a hole twice, thrice, multiple times larger than his original, and seeing nothing, he decides there's only one thing to do, and he's going to go to the court and report these swindlers, this fox and the cat, to bring them before the judge. Well, as he should have known, there's something very disreputable about this town with all these people, all these creatures suffering. But he does get in front of the judge, who happens to be a gorilla, and the gorilla listens with great empathy over Pinocchio's plight. And after the whole thing is reiterated with some little new details from Pinocchio, but honest ones, his nose doesn't grow an inch, the magistrate says, well, there's only one thing that we can do with you. Off to prison! And Pinocchio is sent to jail, although not specified, but implied, for being such a foolish boy. And then for 4 months, he's there, and then suddenly there's a revolt in the prison. And it just so happens it's simultaneous with a big celebration. And the magistrates of the town said, well, on Celebration Day, all the rogues, the true rogues, should be released from prison. So they are, but Pinocchio is not one of them. A rogue is different from a fool, apparently. But he pleads with the jailer and says, I'm a rogue too. And the jailer gives in, and Pinocchio is freed, determined now to go back to the road to meet his father. But it's been a long time. Will his father be there? Will the blue fairy take him back? Many, many things for us to consider as we continue with the adventures of, it should be called Poor Pinocchio. And I was wondering, this book is reminding me more and more of, the Candide, Voltaire's great novel from the 17th century. And it's like, well, Collodi may have read Candide, because one bad thing happens after another. And this is the plight of our poor Pinocchio too. But stay tuned. Something's got to give. And I hope that you give yourselves a little respite this weekend. Enjoy some reading. Perhaps read Pinocchio on your own. And we'll talk to you next week. Have a good night and a wonderful weekend, everybody. Bye.